June 22nd, 2013. The team froze at what they just seen. At first, it looked like an ordinary crash.
Aston Martin's, and that is a huge wreck.
But within seconds, a normal weekend turned into a nightmare. From the very beginning, the race began in a remarkable way. This year marked the 90th anniversary of Le Mans and the 100th anniversary of the Aston Martin brand. That's why their cars wore the iconic Gulf blue and orange livery. They had not only the design, but also the power. Despite Audi's dominance, the British team looked extremely strong in GT qualifying.
Good to be in the lead in such a huge race, and for Aston Martin to be in the 100th year to put the car in the lead with the iconic Bilstein livery on the car is something special, and everything worked well for us.
Their main hero was Allan Simonsen. He wasn't a household name, but don't let that fool you. Allan finished on the podium in his very first Le Mans appearance, and he repeated that success in 2010. This was his 7th race, but this time, things felt a little different. He had become a father last year and promised his family he'd be careful before the start, knowing how much they depended on him. With Simonsen knowing every secret of the Circuit de la Sarthe, the race was meant to be calm, and so the race began as usual. But then, something unexpected happened.
Because he's not so much in the wet, and there's the first casualty for Aston Martin's, and that is a huge wreck.
It seemed like a minor accident. Car number 95 went a little wider than ideal, touched the curb, and slid into the Armco. From the broadcast angle, it looked like a routine incident, something that happens in racing all the time. The response was immediate. Marshals rushed in, and Simonsen was fine, talking to them. The race went under a yellow flag, and Allan was taken to the medical center. But that's where everything took a strange turn. Minutes later, the announcement came.
Allan Simonsen has passed away because of his injuries sustained in early goings here at the 81st running of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. He was immediately attended to on the scene by doctors from the ACO and taken to the infield care center where he succumbed to his injuries. He was a champion driver, and he would have been 35 years old next week. Our hearts and our prayers go out to his family and his friends. Motorsports has lost a champion way too soon.
It was the first fatality connected to Le Mans since 1997, and the first during a race in over a decade. No one could comprehend it. How could such an ordinary crash without fire or chaos end a life? However, no one was going to stop the race, and while that might sound heartless, in this case, it wasn't. Allan's family wanted to honor his memory in the best way possible and did what he would have wanted.
Specific request of his family, the team will continue to participate in the 24 Hours of Le Mans in tribute to Allan Simonsen. We ask for your sympathies in a slightly reduced program. We'll keep the music a little bit down, and we won't serve any more champagne. And yeah, we're going to do our very best to win this race for Allan. Thank you.
And the loss hit not only his family, it deeply affected his close friend, Tom Kristensen.
And of course, there was that intensity and awareness of what had happened, what had taken place. Of course, that was part of it. But I would say that in this situation, it maybe just heightened my focus on the fact that, sure, I might have had to win over my father before, but now there was absolutely no way I was going to have to win anymore.
And he did it.
It was for my father, but he kept it. This one is for Allan Simmons.
But this time, everything was different.
It's hard. My father gave me strength, and he knew that I could win this. He's not here anymore, so this was really for him. But he can still claim this victory. This was for Allan Simonsen. This most important day is my dedication to Allan Simonsen. A great day of togetherness, unity.
But what happened there? His car moved suddenly to the right, then back to the left in an attempt to correct. But by then, the car was out of control and hit the Armco on the outside of the track at a near head-on trajectory. He was driving in one of the most modern sedan-type cars, and his factory-sponsored Aston Martin had every possible modern piece of safety equipment. Thus, the likely cause of this terrible tragedy was yet to be found. Because Tertre Rouge sits on a public road, the crash triggered a civil inquiry under French law. That meant the local prosecutor and police took charge, exactly as they would for a serious road accident. Race footage shows a small rear end twitch as he accelerated through Tertre Rouge. A quick correction, and then the car suddenly veered off into the Armco. There was no explosion, no multi-car pileup, and no immediate evidence of a catastrophic component failure on the broadcast. That profile was modest looking with a single heavy impact. It underpinned the early racing incident framing from officials and the press. Independent race reporting after the weekend highlighted the real problem at that exact spot. The Armco at the Tertre Rouge exit had minimal energy absorption margin because a mature tree sat directly behind the guardrail. In simple terms, there wasn't enough give behind the steel. The impact pulse stayed brutally short. That environmental layout, narrow verge, Armco, then a rigid object, explained how an otherwise survivable looking off produced fatal deceleration forces. The left rear tire was on the painted blue line, which gets very slick in damp conditions, a claim Anthony Davidson confirmed after the race. He said, "The most difficult thing was to carry on driving after we heard the news about Allan Simonsen," he said. "I've ran off the curbs myself many times in that same corner. You realize it can happen to anyone. That was a really tough moment for all of us, I think, to carry on driving, to carry on pushing in those conditions." The civil investigation reached the same conclusion as the paddock. The crash was recorded as a racing incident under difficult early race conditions at a high consequence corner whose barrier/runoff arrangement offered too little energy management. That wording appeared in post-race coverage and official briefings. Inside the Aston Martin garage, there are moments that never make social media. Mechanics standing still, headsets off, eyes down. A crew chief quietly changing the run plan to match a family's request. The cameras did catch what the public needed to see. The black bands, the quiet, the Danish flags. The cars kept circulating. Each lap is not closure, it's respect. On the other side of the pit lane stood Tom Kristensen, who claimed his 9th Le Mans victory, cementing his status as a legend. After the finish, he tried to put it into words and failed, as all sincere people do when the pain is still fresh. So, he simply dedicated the victory to Allan.
This victory today I dedicate to Allan Simonsen, a great fellow Dane.
Denmark felt it. The funeral in Odense filled with people who'd raced with him and people who only waved a flag for him. Australia marked it too, in the way racers do, by tying his name to the thing he did better than almost anyone. Since 2014, Bathurst's pole award at the 12-hour is the Allan Simonsen Pole Position Trophy. It's a small piece of metal with a big story. Speed as tribute. Remember the promise? I'll drive carefully. It wasn't for the record books. It was for a sister on a Saturday in June. 9 minutes later, the sport that had given Allan a home in 2 hemispheres reminded everyone inside Les Salles of something they all know and rarely say. This place takes as well as it gives. The team raced on because the family asked. The track changed because the facts demanded it. And the paddock, from Kristensen at the top to friends in GT tents, carried him the only way racers know how, forward. So, the question we opened with becomes the question we end with. Was this bad luck or proof that even here, with better cars, better barriers, better protocols, the line we all pretend is thick is still thin? The answer won't satisfy. The changes help, the memory matters, and every June when the grid rolls, the sport quietly leaves a seat for the ones who should still be here.